pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Morning, and we welcome everybody here to the Board of Supervisors meeting this July 5th, 2023. Do we have any changes to the tentative agenda? I have. Move on to meet with department heads and elected officials. Chris Poggemiller, Health Department.
Good morning. I don't have anything new to report. I do have an agenda.
Angie Vaughn, Safety.
Good morning. I don't have anything new to report. It wasn't crazy when I got back to work last week, so we're all good.
Good to hear. Natalie Steffi, Recorder.
Good morning, just business as usual, nothing new to report.
Let's do Jared Lasser, Land Use.
Morning. Well, we have a couple subdivisions out for review, and we have the wind and energy ordinance on the agenda for today for public hearing. Apart from that, Zach has anything else?
Zach James,
Business
Land
as
Use.
usual, just business as usual for the most part.
Very well then. How about Chris Lee, Conservation?
Good morning. 4th of July weekend, I guess, was good, a little soggy, but boy, did we need that rain. So that's been a blessing. Weekend went well. Board meeting tonight. Otherwise, we are gearing up to hopefully get started on the projects at Big Hollow, possibly yet this summer. It sounds like we're getting very close to getting to the end of our grant administration process to where we get approved to start working on that stuff. So looking forward to that. And
All right. Sounds good. We'll see you tonight. Let's do Rodney Bleasner, Maintenance. Oh, Rodney's not here. Colin Gerst, IT.
Good morning. Just keeping busy like always, gearing up, for new fiscal year, getting ready to prep for some of our projects we're gonna tackle here pretty soon. But other than that, nothing to report.
All right. Ken Heinman, Mental Health of Southeast Iowa.
Yep, the Mental Health Agency of Southeast Iowa is getting started, starting July 1, so we're getting things started. I guess we're using the new CSN computer system, statewide computer system, and now we've got this new entity, so we've got to add all of our notice of decisions, all of our funding approvals and things like that into the new entity. So just a lot of work to get us up to speed, but we're getting started.
Keep up the hard work. I know it's not gonna be easy, but I know you can handle it. Sure. Sarah Marie, Auditor.
Good morning, just business as usual, nothing new to report at this time.
Brian Carter, County Engineer.
Good morning. Plenty of stuff going on, as everybody knows, the project on 99 is moving along. I had a conversation this morning, it sounds like there's all sorts of rumors around everything, but in general, the project's moving along well. We lost a few days because of rain, but I think we probably need the rain, maybe worse than we needed the days. Maybe a few people out there in that area wouldn't agree with that, and I can't blame them for that, but it was good to get some moisture. I'm sure the contractor's back at it. I have to give him credit. He tried to keep moving, but when it keeps downpouring and then the sun comes out and downpouring, it just makes it hard to sit there and get much done in the dirt. So, so they got some little things done, but they'll be back at it this week. We're probably, 3 months all along is what I've told landowners when they wanted to hear, but that was the best case scenario. And when you start losing a few days here and there, we haven't lost a lot, but a few days because of the rain, that shuffles that a little bit. But in general, they're on pace. You go out there, you can definitely start to get a visual of how things are gonna look, at least on the north end of the bridge. I could see maybe by the end of this week, maybe the paving contractors in starting to do a little bit of prep work. I wouldn't expect to see any concrete on site for at the earliest would be next week, and maybe even the week after, just because of some of this rain, but, I did though, I guess since the rumor just got passed on to me, I'll mention it. Supposedly there's a rumor running around that the new bridge we built's in the wrong spot and there's utility problems and it's gotta be torn out and stuff like that. There's no case of that. Utilities have been a challenge, in this location, and credit to, I don't get any of the credit to my office staff. Utilities on a project like this are just always a challenge. Not as much, sometimes it's because of the utility. There's one in particular that seems to be more of a job than others. But a lot of times their subcontractors come in and do work and it doesn't get installed the way that it's written in the permit. And you don't find that out until you start digging holes, and then you find out that it wasn't put in correctly. So we've had a little bit of that. But most utilities, I think, are now to a point where we can work around them, keep the project moving. We didn't lose any time because of utilities, so that's a good thing. We won't be tearing out the new bridge, it'll stay right where it's at. So I think that's all a good thing too. As far as the other bridge we're working on with our own crew, over on 190th, that's coming along well. Guys poured a concrete cap last week, and I'm sure they'll be stripping forms today and just continuing to make progress. So that's coming along, and other than that, we got a little blading weather. So they've been out blading and just moving along on everything that's going on. So we did have our first concrete blow up. It was very small. I'd call it minor in the whole big picture of things, but that Monday afternoon when it got to 90 and had all the humidity in it, which is the perfect conditions, up on Pleasant Grove Road, we had a buckle at one of the joints in Pleasant Grove Road. So it really was pretty minor. We kicked some chunks off and threw a little asphalt patch in it and put up a couple slow signs, and it limped through the weekend just fine. So those things tend to happen somewhere in the 3 to 4 o'clock range. So if anybody ever comes across those, don't hesitate to call dispatch and they'll get it passed on to us, because oftentimes we need to put a sign up just to keep people safe as they drive through. So, other than that, plenty of stuff going on. So if anybody out there has questions along the way on any project, I would mention that we did another round of dust control on some of the, I'd call it the heavier traveled gravel roads involved in the 99 project, not necessarily all of them that we did initially, but last Thursday, we had that all pre-scheduled, having everything on site. Then our 30% chance of rain jumped to 100% chance of rain. So that messed around with schedule a little bit, but it did all get done. That will, in all likelihood, be the last dust control we do down there. It's now had 2 treatments, and it's gonna be as good as it's gonna be. So, yeah. So we got that done. I think I made you guys aware of it, so I thought I'd let you know we got it completed. All we have for now.
Well, Brian, don't let them rumors worry you, because some people out there like to start rumors, and a lot of people like to listen.
You know, rumors, it's I kind of enjoy them because it humors me to hear how that spreads. And I would guess there's more than just that. I don't know. It is what it is, but anybody ever has a question about rumors, they're welcome to call and get the truth from our office anytime they wish. So.
Especially moving the bridge with all the engineering that it took
To have there.
figure that out and everything, so.
Yep. No, I think we'll leave the bridge as it is.
Did you double check the highway number?
That's next to do.
Appreciate it, Brian.
Yep.
Moving on to correspondence. I have 2 letters to read. One is from the Department of the Army. It is the Iowa Army Ammunition Plan is requesting a Class 1 permit modification to the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act permit to replace spill prevention control and countermeasure plan dated the 8th of October 2018 with a revision dated September 9th of 2022. They sent a copy for official use only, but that is from the Department of the Army. The other one is from the city of Burlington. It Says the City of Burlington partners with the Des Moines County Humane Society for all the administration and operation of the countywide animal shelter, a service to all local governments in the county apart from the efforts of the Humane Society. The physical building is owned by the city, and the Humane Society has an operating agreement to manage and operate the animal shelter. With recent changes in the administrative staff in both the city and the Humane Society, a review of the operations, costs, and overall policies has been ongoing for several weeks. The majority of the cities in Des Moines County and the county use the facility as its animal shelter for animals collected and confiscated by local law enforcement or animal control officials. In exchange for this facility use as a shelter, the city of Burlington invoices each municipality for the costs associated with serving in this capacity on behalf of the local entity. In a study of the operation costs and with increases in inputs costs over the past several years, it is necessary to increase per diem cost expenses to those entities using the facility. In the past, at least for FY22, maybe for many years prior, the cost has been invoiced at a rate of less than $5 per animal per day for up to 8 days. The true cost for operations is $30 per animal per day. Beginning with July 2023 reimbursable invoice to your city, the cost of $30 per animal per day will be reflected in your statement. Says he'd be happy to do it to explain these changes and the relationship with the animal shelter. That is from Chad Bird, the city manager. He's left the new costs and with that. Moving along, we're gonna move right into discussion.
I got a
Oh,
communication too.
not bad. Any other correspondence, James?
This came from Delbert G. Longley, the Chief Jail Inspector for the state of Iowa. It says that the Des Moines County Jail was inspected on June 22nd, 2023 by the Iowa Department of Corrections as required by Iowa Code Section 356 to ensure compliance with Chapter 201-50 of the Iowa Administrative Code. The inspection included an examination of staff, training, records, required documents, and prisoner files. Please note that I wish to express my appreciation to Assistant Jail Administrator Holder Levinson, Maintenance Supervisor Jack Brissy, Sheriff Kevin Van Denny, and the entire staff for their assistance and cooperation during this inspection. Signed by Delbert G. So, I just want to pass that along. The gentlemen are doing good out in jail.
Thomas, any correspondence?
I had none.
We'll move on to discussion and vote. 5A is the first public hearing for an ordinance number 62, it's the regulations for the siting and operation of the wind energy conversion systems.
Motion to open a public hearing.
Second.
Sarah Marie?
Tom Brooker,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yes. The purpose of ordinance number 62 is to establish a set of minimum standards for the siting, placement, construction, installation, operation, maintenance, decommissioning of commercial wind energy conversion systems in order to protect the public health, safety, and community welfare of the residents of Des Moines County. The ordinance is divided into the following sections: general provisions, definitions, minimum siting and design standards, permitting and review procedures, road use and mitigation of damages, the decommissioning and abandonment, and meteorological evaluation towers. That should cover it. Zach or Jared?
So I can just highlight a couple things. I wasn't gonna go into any detail, but just from our staff report, which you kind of covered a couple of those items already, but, this is a new ordinance, it's a draft number 62. As you mentioned, wind energy conversion, system ordinance. We've been working on this for about 8 to 9 months. I think our first work session was back in November. As you mentioned just a second ago, The purpose of this is to set a minimum standards for siting, placement, construction, installation, operation, maintenance, decommissioning of commercial wind energy conversion systems in order to protect public health, safety, community welfare of the residents. You did go through kind of the general structure of the document. I'll just kind of highlight what some of those things are. The general provisions section, this essentially sets out the jurisdiction of the ordinance where it applies within the county, indicates which types of infrastructure fall under that jurisdiction. There's a section of definitions which just outlines specific terms that apply to the wind energy systems and the infrastructure, as well as certain terms that are used under specific contexts. They're just kind of unique terms that you don't see typically. The section on minimum siting and design standards, so this is kind of the basics on your setbacks, height requirements, appearance, screening, those types of things, security. Section on permitting and review procedure, so it talks about who's in charge of administering the ordinance and kind of the process to get a permit and what that's gonna take. There's a section on road use and mitigation of damages. This outlines requirements pertaining to the use and repair of public infrastructure during any installation of these systems, since they typically damage a lot of public infrastructure, typically roadways, or they make changes, improvements too, just to move equipment. So how do you put those things back to how they were prior to installing a wind energy system? Section on decommissioning and abandonment, which outlines the requirements pertaining to decommissioning. So once it hits the useful life, or they've just abandoned it at some time, it's been sitting there, what's the process to removing that system? And then there's the meteorological evaluation tower, Met towers, which are basically, it's a temporary structure that gets put up to test the wind in an area before they go and build one of these, just to make sure that this type of system would make sense. So that's basically the general overview of what's in the ordinance. I just want to thank you guys for your time. We've had, I don't know, 4 or 5 work sessions, some of them very long work sessions, so appreciate your time, and a lot of the county staff that's taken time to review or be part of the process. Sarah, Brian, some Chris got up.
That applies to the solar energy.
Yeah, this is the solar too.
Which
yeah.
will be
And
forthcoming
we'll be
after.
talking about more. Trent and the attorney's office, and then just other people that we worked with, folks in Lynn County, Clinton County, in particular Henry County, and then a couple other folks that I see here, they may have comments themselves. The Center for Infrastructure and Economic Development, Bright Future Iowa, they've been to some of our meetings before and helped giving us a lot of good guidance, so we appreciate all those folks and their time and helping us kind of craft this and put it together. Other than that, I don't really have anything else. We haven't gotten any comments, other than we did get some stuff from the Center for Infrastructure and Economic Development. I think we forwarded that to you guys as well last week. I haven't done a full review of it. I think a lot of those items are things that we've already kind of discussed and went through in our work sessions, but we can look at it again and see if there's something that maybe we need to reevaluate. And they may take a minute and talk about some of those too, I'm not sure.
I've got a question.
Yep.
And at one time, and maybe it's still here, I'm just not finding it now, but as you go through the definitions, and if you've got definition for abandonment here, it is, the state in which a wind energy conversion system or portion thereof, okay, you did put it in there, I thought okay, so it's wind energy system or portion thereof has ceased to produce energy for at least 365 consecutive days. Okay, I'm good, that's, I remember mentioning it to you, and I was thinking it wasn't in there, but, okay. I yield the floor back to you, Zach.
I don't have anything else, so
Okay.
unless you guys have questions, I think we've talked about it enough. I think you guys have reviewed it enough. I think you probably, I hope you're comfortable with everything we worked on together, so. I don't necessarily have anything else, unless Jared has anything he wants to mention.
Right off the bat, no.
Well, is there anybody else that is here? Yes, sir?
Good morning, Jacob Nye. I served as business manager, financial secretary for IBDW Local 13, covering 13 counties here in southeast Iowa. Represent about 300 construction electricians. You know, these projects, they're about jobs. This coal-fired powerhouse south of town is going to close. It's gonna be decommissioned, it's gonna be torn down. There's 80 IBDW members that work down there currently. We're looking at what job is next for them. You know, when wind projects, solar projects like this come up, we have to transition those people into some of these renewable jobs, and we have to make them good jobs. The biggest thing, we can't kill these projects before they even come. With setbacks, with sureties 3 times the cost of the decommissioning of the projects, these projects are gonna find somewhere else to go. You know, if we want these projects to come here and the jobs that they can provide for our residents, we can't kill them before they even start. So, I know there's gonna be some more comments regarding the same. These folks are more professional on the specifics of these projects than I. But you know, I'm focusing on jobs, and we all need to focus on jobs. So we gotta turn this population decline around. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, I'm Jane Tompkins with the Center for Infrastructure and Policy Economic Development. I am a resident of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, although I originally grew up down here in southeastern Iowa. I think you've probably heard a little bit about the center, but just briefly, the center was established a couple of years ago as a renewable energy resource for local leaders. We believe the development of renewable energy projects provide financial and quality of life benefits for counties that proactively plan and prepare for them. We do not focus on any specific project, we do not endorse projects. We exist to provide fact-based, policy-oriented information and research. We hope that you'll take a look at our website and you'll find ordinances, case studies, and some topic-specific research available on the website. To the matter at hand for ordinance today, we've been very pleased to have the opportunity to review and comment on the different drafts of the ordinance as it's evolved over the past few months. Mr. James here has been very courteous and professional in his interactions with us. And as a former planning and development director of 27 years, I can appreciate how hard his job is and just really appreciate how he's engaged with us. Our written comments have been shared with the staff, and I believe they are included in your packets or have been forwarded to you. We'd be happy to respond to any questions you might have about them. But this morning, I'd just like to take this opportunity to highlight a few of the comments. As we've reviewed the ordinance and its revisions, we have appreciated that a number of provisions that we believe make the ordinance well balanced. We support the approach you've taken to abandonment of facilities, to road use agreements, and the requirements for a decommissioning plan and financial responsibility on the part of the developer. All of those are important to protect the residents and taxpayers of Des Moines County. We appreciate that. We believe, though, that some of the provisions still exceed the norm or are needing a little further refinement. First and foremost is the requirement for a financial surety equal to 3 times the estimated cost of decommissioning, plus the cost of liability insurance coverage for the county. We believe this is excessive, arbitrary, and well beyond what's considered a customary best practice. Financial security equal to the decommissioning cost estimate should be sufficient. When you couple that with the requirements you've added for a third-party review of the estimates and periodic reviews and updates of those costs, we believe the risk of liability to the county should be relatively low. We think the setback requirements are also on the high end of the range of what's normal, but that concern can be addressed by adding a provision that would allow property owners to waive the requirement. Similarly, requiring removal of equipment below ground is burdensome and doesn't take into consideration the preferences of the property owner who's leased the land. They might have other plans for the property and don't believe it's necessary to dig out that equipment completely. Best practices generally provide for removal to a depth of 4 feet, with consideration given to the preferences of the landowners. Making these changes, we believe, will produce a thoughtful and well-balanced set of regulations that protect your residents and their property rights, provide opportunities for economic development, and support the vitality of Des Moines County. I thank you for your time and attention this morning, and offer the services of the center to provide further support in this effort. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good morning, Mike Carberry from Bright Future, Iowa. And I'm not gonna repeat what my two previous speakers had said. We completely agree with them at Bright Future Iowa. We've worked with Jared and Zach, actually since last fall on looking at these, both the wind and solar ordinances. One thing I just wanna reiterate, I guess, is the economic development opportunities of these projects. 85 counties in Iowa are losing population, but they're not moving out of state. Most of them are moving to urban areas. What they're taking with them is their tax base. So that what leaves you here in Burlington and Des Moines County is the same amount of bridges and roads, the courthouse, everything else that needs to be paid for with a declining tax base. What rural counties and a lot of counties in Iowa really need, those 85 counties, it is to build their tax base. These wind projects, these solar projects provide millions of dollars a year to counties to kind of backfill that loss of tax revenue because of the folks moving out. But then it also creates jobs and actually can help people move back into the community that weren't already here. So I really want you to take a look again at any projects or the thought of these projects. We want them here in Burlington, and we want them in Des Moines County. So I think just taking a look at that as you make your decisions it would be very thoughtful. I thank you for your time. I thank the staff, especially Jared and Zach, for all the work that they've done on this, and thank you very much.
Anybody else in the audience have any comments, questions, or concerns?
I'd like to ask a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Nancy Carter, and I'm not here with anyone except myself. So.
Can you give me your name again, please?
Nancy Carter, C-A-R-T-E-R. I'm curious to know whether the state is going to have a coordinated policy, or is this being done by counties like ours, just individually? I realize that you are statewide, with a statewide organization, correct?
Correct.
But that's an issue that I have not heard addressed. Personally, without going into a lot more research, I probably could figure that out. It's very important to me as a landowner in our county that I better understand how much good farmland is being targeted for projects to provide us with an alternative fuel source or sources. And I once again am not against anything, but I'm a person that's more of a proponent of all of the above kind of thing. And I certainly want more jobs, good jobs, but I also want land preserved for farming. It's great. I don't have the exact percentage, but it certainly is a pretty sizable percentage of for our economy to have our good farmland protected. And I have an additional concern for some of the reports I read about wind farming affecting the avian population, particularly eagles. Is that part of the thinking, the ecological impact, the consequences that maybe aren't in the news every day? So I appreciate the time that has been spent, and I will read through these reports. I'm just mainly concerned about a long-term view. I'm even concerned in terms of, I realize this is on wind, but I know in my area, people have been approached about solar farming. And the people that I'm aware of, some of this ground is the most productive ground in the county. And when I went and inquired to my local banker, insurance agency, seed distribution, chemical fertilizer, they had never heard of these offers. And they were offering people $800 to $1,000 an acre. This would be for solar, for an extended period of time, like 20 to 30 years. Farm ground, according to, I think, the latest ISU statistics, is running approximately right below $300 an acre in our county or in our state. I'm not sure which the statistic goes. So when you think about that, from my vantage point, you can't compete with that. So if a landowner goes to solar, I don't know what the compensation is for wind, but they immediately would receive per acre 3 times, almost 3 times, if they are being offered $800 to $1,000 an acre for 30 years. I just can see a great imbalance in terms of being able to deal with that without running more farmers out of business, which may very well happen. We know life goes on, transitions. So those are just a few things that come in my mind as a layperson, and I would like to have that incorporated in some kind of a form, in some kind of format, and maybe it's there. I read the policy myself online yesterday. Anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anybody else? Yeah, Angie?
I got a question. We keep hearing about jobs, but you're not gonna go from a coal plant to wind energy without any training. What are we offering the people as far as training, so we don't end up getting people coming from Canada or somewhere else to take care of these projects? That we're protecting our citizens and making sure that they get their jobs.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Can I answer that real quick?
You certainly can.
We have an apprenticeship program right here in Burlington. We bought the old Central Street School, 1205 North Central, and have an apprenticeship program that offer there. It's a joint trust between the IBEW Local 13 and the Southeast Iowa and Ottumwa chapters of National Electrical Contractors Association. So we currently have, we just took 18 brand new apprentices just here 2 weeks ago. So it's a growing program. That's something that we are offering in the area to transition people from one job to the next.
All right. Well, I know you guys want to hear from us, and I know that Tom is just ready to, he's chomping, but one thing I do want to say before, I just want to remind everybody that it's not our place to try to pick and choose favorites and stuff like that, or to, I know it was stated by Tom several times and by Jim that we don't like to tell people what to do with their own property. That's not why we're sitting in these seats to try to tell people you should do this with your property or you shouldn't. That's everybody's right to be able to do that. We just want to make sure that everything is done properly, and when it's all said and done, everything can go back the way it's supposed to. But Thomas, I know you had something you wanted to say.
Well, I think I can at least address my view of a number of those issues. Some of the requirements that have been deemed excessive, like the 3 times the value to have a bond for that amount. Right now, it calls for that to be renewed every 3 years. I think a lot of our county engineer, but an engineer's estimate of something. I was in construction industry long enough that sometimes varies quite a bit. And then you put it in the current context. Our secondary roads had a little worksheet just out of curiosity, and they compared the cost of putting in a mile of concrete road today, or in 2022, versus putting it in 2020. The cost went from $900,000 a mile to $1.5 million a mile. That's a 66% increase. That's inflation. And then you throw in the wind and solar. That's Warren Buffett, I believe his company owns Mid-American Energy. He's on record to say several times, he said the only reason people build windmills is because of the tax credits. So you have a federal government that's throwing hundreds of billions of dollars at these companies, these installations, and that's what they're doing. If that changes, then the values and the costs of not only the construction, but the maintenance, the operation, and the decommissioning of those installations will vary just as wildly. We're every contract addresses risk. and it has to be addressed up front, or at the end of the day, it falls on the guy at the bottom of the ladder. So like I said, I was in construction a long time. I had to furnish a bond ahead of time if that's what the contractor wanted, and it had to be there, or I didn't get a contract. And there wasn't any much discussion about that. They sent me a contract, they said, this is what you're gonna do. They covered their butt. The costs of decommissioning these things, I brought a statistic here a few weeks ago from installation in Minneapolis. And at that time, in today's dollars, decommissioning a turbine was over $600,000. The cost of decommissioning an installation of any size at all, Des Moines County has no resources, none at all. We can't have it, and the young lady from the center, Ms. Tompkins, I apologize, I've got her
I've been
wrong.
called young in many years, so I appreciate
Okay,
it.
anyway, well, you mentioned that there will be little risk. Des Moines County is not a rich county. We can't afford a little risk of something that will very possibly be hundreds of millions of dollars. That we need to know that that's gonna be taken care of, because if an expense like that comes up, not only Des Moines County, certainly no landowner can afford that. And if a landowner can't afford it, it falls on the taxpayers, because we don't want a 1,000-acre junkyard. And I know the numbers gets bandied about, but there are both solar and wind installations throughout the United States that have been abandoned. Nobody's ever denied that. As far as the 4 foot down rather than all of it, Ms. Tompkins said, you know, that 4 foot was standard with deference to landowner preference. The only time the county has any leverage in this negotiation is before those go up. Otherwise, if they're already up, we say, well, we think it's gonna cost more, you know, we'd like a bigger bond. They go, really? This is the only time we have any leverage. And I agree with you, there's an AES that's currently looking at some land in Des Moines County. And it said, under decommissioning, it says at the end of the project's useful life, it is the industry standard to remove all components up to 3 foot below ground. However, AES will comply with any additional state and local regulations to restore the land back to its original condition. Well, if we put it in there, you know, that this is a deference to the landowner's preference, if that's not in the original, that it's gonna come out, that doesn't mean anything, because we don't have any leverage to put that in later. Now, at the time, if you've got a landowner that said, I would like to have these concrete foundations stay here, nobody's gonna tell him he can't. But if it's not in this document before things start, it's not gonna happen then. And as far as Ms. Carter, the birds, I've heard that too. I don't know, I think they say a lot of birds get killed, but mostly it's with cats, with robins and blue jays and sparrows and stuff. Apparently these kill eagles and owls and hawks and things like that. But that doesn't seem to be a major concern about the people that promote this. And I have my own feelings about this. But like both of these guys have said, this board, we all have principles. I'm not big on telling somebody that your land, it'll grow, it's got a CSR rating so high that you can't use it for anything else. I am really uncomfortable with telling somebody what they can do with their land. I don't think that's why any of us were elected, and I think your land's your land. We've tried to address that. We've negotiated that setback, and we're at 1,800 feet now. I was higher than that, and we've come with, there are several compromises here, and to not say you can't do this, or not to say, you know, you don't have any rights. So, this is I believe it's a good faith effort by all three of us. And I don't think anybody is in love with it. But if we don't make some rules, then I think the state probably does. There's probably fallback or a default option that they can just go ahead and do it. But the way I understand it now, each county at least is entitled to, and we have an interest. We're part of our responsibility is to protect a landowner's use and enjoyment of his own property without taking away somebody else's use of their property. And we have to protect the 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, 30 years down the line, when whatever happens, if this is the greatest thing, you know, when it does have to come down, or 10 years from now, when they said we aren't going to subsidize this anymore, and this is our best attempt to protect Des Moines County taxpayers and landowners on both participating and non-participating properties.
I think you said that pretty, Jim?
Yeah, well, Tom's pretty well put it there. We had a lot of discussion, we had a lot of, work sessions on this. And, you know, like, originally started out, we're talking, we're 1,800 foot now. We started out at 2,500 or better, we're down to 1,800. You know, there's a lot of concessions on both sides, but when it came down to it, Des Moines County and the taxpayers cannot afford to decommission one of these things. And we're looking out for our children and grandchildren in this. And I agree with Tom, I don't want the landowner to say, you can't do that if he wants to do it. So they can put it up if they want to, but they're gonna have to go by our guidelines. And the only thing I wish was in here is if we could use, when it's done, we can't recommend, we can recommend using local trades to do it. And that's what I would like to see, is as much local trades to do this when they do it, that they can. We can't say they have to, but we can recommend that.
I suspect we'll have a little leverage if somebody comes to permit it, but we can, and I go ahead, Jared.
Okay, so that was part of the discussion at the work sessions, and we did add a passage in the permitting chapter. I believe that's Article 4.
Do you have a page?
Yeah, it's page, let's see, page 10, number 12, just above section C, where it says one of the requirements to be submitted with a permit application is a description of the process by which the developer or contractor acting on their behalf will recruit employees for the construction of the proposed wind energy conversion system. And they should specify whether or not this will include local recruitment efforts in Des Moines County and the surrounding region. So basically it's a way of, it doesn't outright require the use of local labor, but it at least makes that's part of the discussion. And if that's a priority for the board, then there's some leverage there to work with the developer, so that it's clear that that is a local priority.
Thank you for remembering that. I remember the discussion, I'd forgotten that it was in there.
Are there any other questions?
And one other thing is I went through the center's recommendations that when we took the blade height from 25 feet to 75 feet, Mike was here, was it a month ago or 3 weeks, or whenever it was we had him. I thought 75 feet was pretty much the standard. In other words, the blade from the ground. At least that's what I walked away from that, when you think you mentioned that. And quite honestly, I'm concerned about 25 feet. I'm an old man, I can throw a baseball 25 feet high. I don't think that provides much clearance.
everybody satisfied?
Move to go out of public hearing.
Did you receive any email or?
I have not received anything in the auditor's office.
Actually, I did want to mention one other thing. In the section on minimum siting and design standards, I believe in Ms. Tompkins' comments, there was a reference to the need for something about being able to waive the specific requirements. We did have a provision in here, section A, item 1D, where it says the minimum distances required by this section shall only be waived if written permission for a shorter distance has been obtained from the individual property owners. So that basically applies to that whole section, so any of those setbacks for dwellings,
So which,
any other property
and
lines.
I apologize, you talk faster than I can.
That's all right.
Page 5.
Page 5 of our ordinance?
Yep. So it's section A, and then subsection 1, and then the last item, which is D. I just want to make sure it was, it's in there, because I mean, if you're not necessarily looking for it, maybe you don't know where it was, but that.
Page 5?
Yes, so it's the first page of Article 3.
I've got
Page 5 on the paper.
Oh, sorry, it's this is the correspondence.
The PDF may be like page 8
Oh,
or
okay, so
something.
it's Article 3?
Yes.
Okay, which?
Section A1, and then it's the last item with the lowercase d. So we had always had that in there. I know it's been part of this discussion as we talk about what the setback should be, but we've always felt that it was necessary to have something in there.
But it has to be, and the individual, it has to be the participating property.
Yes.
Yes.
Because I can, doesn't take.
Well, it would be participating or non-participating, because we have the requirement there as well.
My problem with that is I could, it doesn't take a lot of imagination, where if you have somebody that rents ground, that then maybe they have a smaller plot of land out there, that somebody would try to, put some pressure on somebody that they didn't want, and I don't think anybody wants that. So I could, if you're a participating property and you want it 600 feet from your front door, I guess that's whatever the standard is. I don't have a problem with that, but I don't think a non-participating property, somebody shouldn't be able to put heat on them and say, come on, you aren't gonna get to rent this ground anymore, or this or that. Which, if they're not participating, if they say no, they should be left alone.
Right.
So I'm just saying, if that's a decision they have to make, you can put a lot of pressure on somebody to make a decision the way you want it. Mike?
Yeah, Tom, what you're talking about, sometimes that negotiation is, ends up with what's called a good neighbor payment. And for a non-participating landowner, if you want a shorter setback, you might pay them an annual fee to have that shorter setback. So that's the negotiation they're talking about. Negotiation usually involves somebody getting paid, right? And so they're paid to negotiate, and so that's just business, right?
But that is just business, and I don't have a problem with that, except if somebody's there, and he said, if you don't sign that, you're renting 250 acres of my ground. Next year I rent it to somebody else. That's a negotiation too.
Yeah.
And that's the situation I would not be very fond of. If somebody says, you do this or else there will be consequences. If they come to them and say, we're gonna give you $1,000 a year, or whatever it might be, that's
I think we may have it mixed up between the participating and non-participating, because when we say participating, we're talking about.
I'm talking about somebody who has them on their land.
Yeah, that would be participating, because
Yes.
they're part of the system.
Or has it on their land, and maybe not even on the parcel that they've got.
Right.
Their house built, they can build it.
Yeah.
But if you own a parcel out there adjoining any of that, and you haven't signed a contract with the wind company.
Right.
With the owner operator.
Right.
then that would be non-participating, at least
Right,
that would
right.
be my understanding.
Yes, yes.
So this says, never all the way around when you need one.
It doesn't
The
specify
minimum
either
distance is
one.
required by this section from one or more individual property to those specific properties. Did you have your hand in here, Mike?
Yeah, I'm a little confused,
So am
looking,
I.
looking at, both, under section A, 2 and 3, I'm seeing two different distances for setbacks regarding occupied dwellings. One is 1,800 feet in item number, in line number 2, I guess. And then in 3, they say it's 1,000 feet or 2 times the height of the turbine. So don't those contradict each other?
The first one, because
It's
number.
non-participating.
Yeah, number 2 says between a wind turbine and an occupied dwelling on a non-participating property shall be 1,800 feet. And then number 3 says the minimum distance between it and any of the
Okay.
following, and it says an occupied dwelling on a participating property.
I think I remember, I think you were here, Mike, because we talked
Yeah.
about, we were curious how big those got, you said some
Yeah,
of
I
the
was
big
the
ones
one
now were.
suggesting the 2 times.
Yeah, you suggested 2 times, and they said they could get to 500 feet, and so I think that's where we came,
Yeah.
it's sort of a safety.
Yeah, no, I guess I didn't, I missed the participating versus non-participating, so there is, so the setback for non-participating in this ordinance is 1,800?
1,800 foot.
Okay,
Yes.
I thought you said that, you had taken that down, but thank you.
We started out, if you remember, 2,500 foot, so we took it down to 1,800 foot, and then moved to non-participating.
You know
Had
what
to be
the
1,800 foot.
setback is for a CAFO?
What's
A
that?
hog confinement, how, you know what the setback is for that?
It isn't 500 foot tall.
Yes, well, wind turbines don't stink either, and
Well.
neither do solar panels, so it's, but it's 1,250 feet is the answer to my question is, 1,250 is the setback for a hog confinement or a turkey or chicken. Just point of information.
I would just like to throw in there, just real quick, again, I don't think that our intention was to say, hey, we're gonna make it so tough that nobody will do any business here in Des Moines County. But we did want to have it strong enough so that we did have a little bit of leverage and some say in that it was gonna be done right. And then when it comes down to it, I think, I'm still where, Tom, you brought this up, but it's a great point. We never know with inflation what things are gonna cost to tear things down. And anybody they can say, you can say whatever you want to about this, has been great and good for different communities, I'm sure it has. But there are some other communities that have these, they've just been abandoned. Nothing's been done, and I don't know what's gonna happen with that. So, I would like to make sure that whatever we have down in writing, that if somebody's gonna come here and put something up in our community, that they know that it's very serious and that only the serious need apply. And it's not like we're asking them to jump over hoops and do something that anybody else isn't doing. We're just making sure that on paper it says that if something changes, you still gotta cover this, because we owe that to Des Moines County. So I just want, whatever happens with all of this, that we can make sure that it goes right back to how it was. And I have to address you, Jake, I just wanna say that I'm all for the local jobs, man, I'm all for that. But I have to say this, I'm not for local jobs at any expense or at any cost. Everything still has to be weighed out, and, you know, even with this, I'm all down for it, I wanna put everybody to work, but, I still think, there has to be a standard set, and we're trying to set a minimum standard, just like every other community is. I just wanna throw that out there. Anybody else have anything to? This is our first public hearing, we'll be doing 3 of these, so. Everybody satisfied?
Motion to close. One, I get, as long as we're talking down there, that one paragraph, what I would like to do is go ahead, Pat, and ask the attorney if there's any problem with that particular phrase. The one where I was stuttering around, stumbling whether it was,
The participating.
participating or non-participating, I'm looking for the,
Are we talking about the waiver option? Or-
yeah, on 3A, A, 1 paragraph D. So the minimum distance we waived only waived if written permission for a shorter distance has been obtained from one or more individual. See if, I'm a little suspicious. I was a contractor for a long time, and I've dealt with bonding companies, and I've dealt with contractors that had a lot more resources than I had. And I'm a little suspicious sometimes. But anyway, so I would like to just ask him, but I haven't got any problem. I think, look, I'm good with this. But I would like to, if you guys didn't mind, if we could just send that paragraph to Lisa's
We can
office.
send that county attorney.
Yeah.
And then look it over.
See if they have any comments on that.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah, no real problem with that.
Okay. Then I'd make a motion to close the public hearing.
Wait a second.
Yep, I'll second that.
Sarah Marie?
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yes.
We need a motion to approve the first reading of the regulations for the wind energy conversion systems. I'd make that motion.
Second.
Thank you, James. Sarah Marie, let's vote.
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yes. All right. Yeah, so those that want to leave, I'm sure you can
Thank you.
get on that.
Thank you. Thank you all for your input.
Thanks for stopping, you did a great job.
Jacob?
Yes, this is first. Okay.
Next, we have 5B, which is accounts payable in the amount of $752,402.04 in checks and 0 in wire transfer payments. Second.
Second.
Sarah Marie?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yes.
Everybody out.
Get out.
It's like Brian announcing he's gonna go through his 5-year road.
Right, when you brought this up, that kid got upset. Time is out.
What's it? Tell them what's that last guy that walked out with the.
Mike Carburetor sitting in the back.
Yeah.
He's with,
Yeah.
Bright future,
Bright
Yeah,
Futures,
yeah.
they're an advocacy group for solar and wind, I believe.
He was a county supervisor.
yeah, he-
In Johnson County,
Johnson County for a while, yeah.
yeah. Mike Carberry, Carberry, I think.
I am. But Tom already moved.
What?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So can I move forward then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hurry up.
All right. Next, we have 5C. That is approval of employment contract renewal for the maintenance director. We have these contracts that are due every 2 years. And so we're renewing this contract. And this is for Rodney Bleasner. I'm not gonna read through all of the therefores and whatnots, but it is a mutual covenant and agreement between the county and Rodney.
This one expires in 2025.
This will expire June 30th, 2025, correct?
County may not function without Rodney.
Well, I'm still,
I'm just.
I haven't decided yet, but I'm leaning toward you, Rodney. I'd make a motion to approve that.
I'll second that. And Rodney, thanks for everything you do for the county, and we appreciate it.
Thank you, appreciate you guys.
Let's take it to vote. Sarah Marie?
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yes.
if
We're
you
gonna
feel lucky.
find out.
I'll be real honest with you, if he's not here, I'm not gonna get my email. I'll never figure out where it's at.
I'm just glad there's not enough,
His,
department heads in here to object.
his father-in-law forgive him, he doesn't have to chop wood anymore, so.
Oh, really?
No. He went out of his way to get his father-in-law back on the TV. I think that's what it was.
Well,
I think so.
Yeah, all the way up.
Tough to keep a father-in-law happy.
I'm slow, Shane.
Take your time.
These papers stick together.
I think I heard Rodney say, just sign it. I don't care how long it takes, just sign it.
You're gonna have to move it on or I'm gonna have to move it off the wall.
Huh? You definitely can. I think by the time we get ready for a signature, we'd be, we'd probably be done. But I'll go ahead and move on to, well, Tom signed, I'll go on to, D, which is the approval of the Information Technology Manager contract renewal. This is, similar, these are contract employees, every 2 years, they have to be renewed. And, this one is for the, IT Director, Colin Durst. So,
Motion to approve the, contract renewal.
Second.
moved in second, Sarah Marie.
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yep.
This is good till 2025.
Yeah, this
Yes.
is a 2-year too, isn't it?
Yep.
Yep.
It expires, June 30th, 2025 as well.
Want to recess?
Let's take a quick recess.
Yeah, let's take a quick recess.
Okay.
5-minute recess.
Or 7, who's counting?
know if the recorder will turn on, maybe we can start again. Okay, there we go.
Okay. Welcome back. We'll be picking up where we left off. 5E, which is a 2080 agreement between Des Moines County and Russ for environmental health services coverage. This agreement shall provide environmental health services for Des Moines County. The purpose of the agreement is to establish a working mechanism among the participating entities, so there is an environmental health specialist for Des Moines County who can make decisions, answer questions with regards to environmental health situations. The duration of the agreement shall be perpetual in nature, and termination of the agreement shall remain in full force and effect until such time as Des Moines County Board of Health, by majority vote, or by the Russ Board by majority vote, passes to withdraw from this agreement. To provide an effective withdrawal date, the entity wishing to withdraw shall provide a 60-day notice for that. Krista Poggemiller?
Yes. So we use Russ, which is Rural Utility Services, as a subcontract for our environmental health services, and they do a great job. We've always had a 28E agreement ever since they came on board with us. The change is at Iowa Department of Public Health. They merged the environmental health section with DIA, Department of Inspections and Appeals, and now it's known as Department of Inspections and Appeals and License. So they've kind of brought that together, so that was part of the reason the contract changed. Also, our mosquito grant has, we've gotten less funding for that. We've always done the mosquito trapping. They found out that the mosquito that we're trapping for is here, and they think it's here to stay. So they've kind of limited the number of traps that we do, and so that limits the number of funds. So we're actually where we have 14 traps a week, we're down to 6. And so essentially we are not subcontracting that with Russ any longer. It doesn't make a benefit to them to drive clear from Mount Pleasant to do our trappings. And so that brought down the cost to $7,000 a month, and that just covers our environmental health. They do all of our well permits, water testing, just any of that environmental health and stuff that we used to do in-house, we do, and subcontract, like I said, they do a great job, and we appreciate having Greg Lumpy is actually stationed or housed right in our office, and so he's available for any questions anyone in the community has, so we really appreciate them.
And we're all caught up to snuff on all the paperwork and everything.
Yeah, done a very, very nice job. I know that we have put a lot of the permits and the drawings are now online, so people can actually, instead of having to call the office to get all these drawings and digging through papers and papers, they're able to actually access those online. So all that has really definitely brought us up to where we needed to be.
Did you ever think about approaching secondary roads about your mosquito trapping? They've got people out all the time.
That's a great idea, Tom.
Another thing about that, with having Russ on board, we've got a couple more sanitarians, if one's sick, and they just send them over, so that gives us sanitarian every time.
Does. And you know, they're just wonderful resources, you know, just like we also got the same letter that we got from the award, the IAAP. And so that was one of the things that right away I asked him, is there something we need to do on our behalf? And, you know, he does the research on that. They're just a great resource.
Move to approve the 28 agreement with Russ for environmental health.
Second.
Moved in second. Sarah Marie?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yep. Next, we have personnel actions, one for the auditor and 2 for the correctional center. The first one is Sue Poling. Her title is payroll first deputy in the auditor's office, and it's for .54 of unpaid time for 6/23/23.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved in second. Sarah Marie?
I shouldn't, I just saw vice chairperson, so I.
Oh, okay.
So if you wanna change that or somebody just right above it.
Okay.
I stepped on your green.
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yep.
I probably have another one I can print out.
Okay. That's the biggest mistake I make all day. I will have had a hell of a
Yeah. We're good.
Next, I have two for the correctional center. The first one is for Angela Coey. She is a correctional officer, and she is, this is for unpaid hours for 31.32 hours. And then the other one is for Joanne Schwarm, the part-time kitchen, or the PT kitchen. Anyways, at the correctional center, and it is resignation. Well, okay, last day worked was June 21st, 2023, so, make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second, Sarah Marie.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yes. And we appreciate the service, the work, and, we're sorry to see Joanne leave. Okay. Next we have reports, which is the assessor's 2023 PAAB and district court notification. These will be on file in the auditor's office. And you can come and read them at your leisure. And last but not least, we have the minutes for the regular meeting on June 27th, 2023. I get a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Moved in second, Sarah Marie.
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yeah.
Shane McCampbell.
Yes. Okay, do we have any other business?
I have none.
Future agenda items?
Is the next public hearing next week?
Yes.
Okay.
I do have an 11 o'clock deadline next week.
I would, well, I don't know, we'll see. This one went, well, a little faster than I thought it might, but took a little bit of time, I don't know.
Committee reports? Have none.
I have none.
Public input. Well, hold on, before I do public input, let me read Sheriff Glenn Dennings. He wasn't able to make it to the meeting this morning because they're prepping with the new K-9 and they're pouring a concrete pad for the kennel. He has no major news from his office. The head count at the jail is at 91 with 16 adults and 1 juvenile housed out of county. 2 are waiting on prison and 4 on residential facility with 1 likely going out tomorrow. Appreciate that, Kevin. Now we'll take, have Jimmy start the clock, and we'd love to hear from you, all of you wonderful people. So we're gonna put 2 minutes on there, and if you have something you'd like to say, share, get off your chest, you can email us at board@dmcounty.com. That is board@dmcounty.com, or you can call us, and Sam Marie would love to answer that phone for you at 319-753-8203 extension 4. Again, that number is 319-753-8203, extension 4. We'd like to hear from you. We're going to give you 2 minutes.
There's your jail
Thomas,
there.
why don't you share something with the audience? They'd love to hear from you, Thomas.
We pretty much overloaded my public speaking, my limited public speaking ability. So although I did have went out to the West Burlington Parade, they have, that's nice out there. Fireworks all over. Like some of it was from Sperry, some of it from West Burlington, some of it from the Ball Diamond, but they don't go on for hours. So I think there was some extracurricular fireworks going on within.
Oh, it's crazy out by my house.
My daughter sent me something. She said, she lives in Miami. Yes. She said that Miami's a great planner. She said they've got the Miami Marlins, Major League Baseball team. She said they scheduled Bark at the Park, which is Bring Your Dog to the Park Day. The same day they have the fireworks.
Oh my gosh. Bad idea.
Bad choice.
They're working all right.
They were scrambling, and they're trying to come up with a 15-minute break between the end of the game so that you can get your dog out of there before they start the fireworks. I don't know who planned that, but nobody was familiar with dog, not a dog owner, no.
Hey, Brian. My weather says 3 to 5 inches of rain expected today.
Oh,
Really?
good Lord.
Today?
I hope it's wrong.
Most of them have backed off to about 50% chance
Mine's
now.
kinda slow.
Did you say for today? How much
That's
did
what
you
it
get over
said.
the weekend?
I was gonna say, I looked
Not a
at,
whole lot. All told, we got about 2 at home, but down around Burlington, supposedly south of Burlington, some people got 4 inches.
we got 4 inches at my house.
Yeah,
Now it
we
says
did
2 to
not.
3.
So I got a question, when they're disposing of this, you know, on that, in that contract, do we have something in there where it says where they dispose of it
Yes,
and how?
it
Okay.
is.
We're
It's
talking about the wind?
It's,
Yeah.
it is to be recycled, and there's no way it goes to the Des Moines County landfill.
Well, we wouldn't even have room. There's just
No,
way.
but no, so that's addressed in there.
Yep.
So they're recycling them now?
Well,
In
they
the-
say they are. I think they're still burying the blades. They might have a couple demonstration projects for
The claim in the hallway was that they're mostly recyclable. You can define mostly however you want.
I was gonna say, you see a lot of pictures of them burying
They're
these.
buried. I think
Huge,
they're a lot of buried.
huge.
Did you see the pictures from the hail that hit that solar installation in
Yeah.
Nebraska?
They were talking about that when I walked out.
Ruin the entire thing.
When you first showed me that.
When I was a
map,
little
I thought that
boy,
it
my
said
dad was,
3 to 5 inch.
with construction work.
Yeah.
Back then, hard hats were metal. So anyway, so I would put one on, had a brim all the way around it, I would put one out, and I would stand out in the hail. So that I can
do
hear
work.
it
That
clatter on
explains
the-
a lot.
It must have fallen off once or
Don't
twice.
tell anybody that story again, Tom, please. Just keep that one to yourself, man. So, is that the 2 minutes?
I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Read about that. Oh, yeah, no, I just wanna give the kudos to you.
With an eye, we're adjourned.
Bye.
All right, that's adjourned. We appreciate everybody. Thank you all, 13 of you. We appreciate it.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Angie.
Have a